Good morning, you crazy Bitcoin and crypto degenerate bastards. This is another episode of the Defion Productions podcast. This is Don Rinaldi, the hardest working nobody in Bitcoin. In a minute, I will be joined by the savvy crew sitting in the jungle, living life to the fullest. Can't tell I'm jealous about that, huh? And we will talk all things Bitcoin. We will bring some calm to the markets because I'm sure some of you are panicking in the fact that right now we're sitting at 60,165 Bitcoin. 2,300 ETH and 135 Sol or 134 Sol when we were at much higher price points 72 hours ago. We're going to talk today about many things, including the port strike, how that affects things, Israel and Iran playing who can catch the rockets better. And we will talk about other macro things that we think are affecting the markets. Let's bring in the big guys and see how they think. Oh, look at that. Millennials on their cell phones. Who would have thought?
What's new?
What's up, gentlemen?
Yeah.
How you doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good, man. Go over some quick prices. Solana sitting at 135, ETH 2318, and Bitcoin 60,200. I have a question for you. Well, I have a question that's being asked to me all the time. Like people are like, I thought it was October. I hate that question. I really do, man. October? Are you serious? Get out of here.
I have a tweet. Let me jump on it real quick because I'll preface it by saying that keep in mind it's October 3rd, not October 30th. So that's the people saying that. And if you look at previous Octobers in halving years, that's the tweet I'm trying to find. I sent it to you if you want to follow along. We start out just about every October bearish. Like there's a little dip, it looks like, at the beginning of the Octobers. I don't know if it's to the same extent as this one has kind of had. And ironically enough, Scottie Pippen, the former basketball player from the Chicago Bulls, is the one that tweeted it. Having years in October, I'm bullish and history repeating itself. We've been here before. Don't panic. We're in October. Hashtag Bitcoin, not financial advice. If you look at 2016, 2020, we had an initial dip in October of 2016. We had an initial dip in October of 2020, and both months ended exceptionally higher, as well as the rest of those years. So I expect nothing less in this October as well, seeing that we're 2.5 days old.
Especially with the events we have going on right now, like you said, Israel, Iran, the missiles going everywhere, and we also have the people at the ports and strike. And we're going on our third day right now, and this can't be good for the GDP. And I think this is another catalyst for money printing. Like, what's going to happen when we don't have food and items? Articulus. That's Spanish for items.
Now we're doing Spanish because we're. Yeah, I don't really like how I don't really like how this is all playing out from a information standpoint. There's a lot of misinformation in regards to this port strike, and it's kind of why I want to talk about it, not just in regards to how it affects Bitcoin, but I want to talk about how it just affects the general economy.
Yeah, it's terrible for supply chain. It's terrible for global. It doesn't really affect crypto as much, but this is not good, man. Stock up.
And I think that there's a lot of misinformation in regards to what's actually being argued about and why they're on strike. You see the media reporting certain things. One, for example, that they were offered 50% raises and they want 70% raises, and that's only half true. The raises that they're asking for over the life of the contract. A lot of people think that they're asking for 50% or 70% raises year over year. So like right now they want a 70% raise. So if they're making 100,000, they want to make 177,000, for example. That's not the case. They want a raise that's 70. You can feel if it's a lot or a little or whatever the case may be, but it's over the life of the contract. And I think the last contract was 6 years. So it would be a 77% raise over the course of 6 years. So it would be chopped up, divided by 6. They're not going to get that all right off the bat. And they were offered 50, but they turned it down, and they want the 77. But I think the reason why they turned it down was more due to the automation piece of it than it was necessarily to the fact that they didn't get the 77.
It's gruesome work, and they want at least semi-automation, more cranes, more trucks, more things to help with the process. I don't know that world, so I can't really speak too much on it, but I imagine it's not easy.
I understand both sides, honestly. I understand something like 50,000 members of the International Longshoremen's Association are picketing. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of workers. And that's probably generations of longshoremen. I'm sure like dads and grandfathers and stuff were longshoremen, and these guys got into the business as a result of that. So it's like family lineage. So there's a lot, besides the fact that they earn an income from it, there's a lot of pride that probably is behind that job. And there's probably a genuine fear that they're going to be outsourced by robots and AI and technology. So it's a real fear. And I think that's something they should, be worried about. However, in every other facet of our economy, you see technology advance, and it just happens. Like there's not really much you can do to stop it. Like we're going to innovate, technology is going to advance, and we're going to find more efficient ways to do things. And if it's more efficient and cost effective for the robots to do it than humans, then that's probably an inevitability. They're going to fight it, as well they should. That's their right to do that because that's their livelihood. But I just think it's inevitable. I think they're fighting against the tide, in my opinion. I'm not saying that it's wrong that they're fighting it. It's not an opinion. I'm saying a fact of the matter is I think that innovation is just going to play itself out regardless of how this in the short term plays out. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, yeah, for sure. And I mean, back to the price of the crypto rate of all crypto right now. I mean, Don, you were saying earlier, BlackRock, how many Bitcoins did they recently buy in the last 4 days?
I saw yesterday they had like a net. It was like 2,900 and some change that they had added as of yesterday and I don't know if it was for the week or it was for the day, but I saw a green plus 2,900 number next to BlackRock on somebody that tweeted after hours all the inflows and outflows of Bitcoin. So BlackRock is almost always green compared to all the other ETFs. Most of them are usually green, but BlackRock's rarely red.
Yeah, this is a major buying opportunity right now. And this might be one of the last major buying opportunities of the bull run where you're going to see prices this low. I mean, perfect opportunity to DCA in. This is where all the whales are, buying while all of retail is selling off due to fear. Following that alone is going to make you a profitable investor. And also we're entering into what's called the Goldilocks zone. So, I mean, coming up there, you're going to see massive gains. If you take a look at Darius Dale, he's a great source, a great resource.
42 macro. Yeah.
42 macro. Awesome resource. Shout out Tyler for, giving us his information. But yeah, we're about to be entering into the Goldilocks state, which is growth plus inflation. So this is where inflation goes down and growth goes up. So I mean, huge opportunity for crypto right there.
So you're basically betting on the horse. You're betting on
the macroeconomic.
You're betting on the global or the Goldilocks zone, and that's kind of how I'm doing it. I might have dug myself a little bit of a hole, but I'm betting on the macro, and I'm betting on the coming months. So I'm not really too worried about my positions. But for anyone watching this, like you have to look at the data too. You can't be just on Twitter and stuff. You have to look at data, and it's a lot of work. It's hard. It's not easy, but this is where you get the edge. This is where you become a great investor. So.
Exactly. And during the Goldilocks zone, you're going to want to be into high beta investments such as, Bitcoin and crypto in general. It's going to be a huge, opportunity where a lot of people are going to make a lot of money. You just can't get shaken out in moments like this where, events that none of us can control are happening. No one knew that Iran was going to, send missiles. And in the long term, it really doesn't matter at all.
I mean,
So
I think at this point it's kind of like expected that they're just going to keep going back and forth. I think
exactly.
it's you don't know how high it'll escalate potentially, but I mean, at this point, Israel sending rockets Iran's way or Iran sending rockets Israel's way isn't completely surprising. I mean, they're at war. I mean, it's kind of what they're doing right now. It's just the intensity of it, and then it being in the news cycle for 24 hours just affects things, and markets are affected by uncertainty, and there's uncertainty that lies when things like that happen, and that's the short-term effects of it. But I mean, if you zoom out, like we've been at war for the last like 4 decades. It's one way, shape, or form or another. So it's just like another day at the office, basically. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's something that really long term should be really shaking people out of markets.
Definitely not. And to talk about the medium to long term, with war, you will see like that's very bullish for risk on assets. Actually, so not in the short term, but when the FUD leaves the market and things start picking up again, war is actually very bullish for risk on assets. And you're going to
because they have to print money in order to engage in them.
Exactly.
And what's crypto heavily correlated to?
Global liquidity. And we're seeing global liquidity. It's going to take a little while for it to get priced in, around 5 to 10 weeks, for Bitcoin and other crypto assets. But, PBOC has been printing money, out their ass, for the last, couple of months. So
People's Bank of China.
Yes, correct. And I mean, the U.S. just cut rates. I mean, we're entering into what's going to be a super cycle, especially with the election too. So, I mean, this is the price of Bitcoin right now. This is just a massive buying opportunity for everyone.
Yeah, that's the other thing when it comes to having Octobers. Every halving October has an election at basically at the end of it. I mean, November 4th, a couple days after the end of October is a presidential election. So you're going to get volatility in this month. It's kind of expected. You know what I mean? Because especially in this election, as tight as the perception is, like, I don't know if it really is as tight as they say. Who knows? Like, you don't know. But what matters is the perception of it. And the perception is that it's tight. That actually matters more than if it actually is or it isn't, because that's what kind of plays into markets. So the perception right now is that it's like a toss-up on who's going to win. And you have two vastly different candidates in regards to policies and specifically their ideas on what they want to do about finance and more specifically Bitcoin and crypto. So this asset class more specifically is definitely keeping its eye on what's going to happen in the next 4 or 5 weeks, because, as vocal as Trump has been, especially having Robert F. Kennedy and Vivek Ramaswamy in his corner being very pro-crypto, the thought is that if Trump gets in, he's going to have those type of guys helping him to craft a new agenda in regards to our ecosystem. Kamala wins. Kamala is a part of this administration that gave us hell for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Operation Choke Point 2.0 is under her watch. So she's saying some things that make it appear like she's shifting, but until you see, like, actions speak louder than words, the fear is that she reverts back to what Joe Biden was doing in regards to our ecosystem, and we have to deal with another 4 years of that. So there's a lot of uncertainty in our ecosystem specifically because of the election. And I think, just my opinion, that the uncertainty of the election is the biggest catalyst right now for price suppression, more so than the strike, more so than what's going on in the Middle East, more so than even the liquidity aspect, knowing that it's going to come. I think just that uncertainty piece of not knowing who's going to be the president and which administration we're going to get in regards to how they view Bitcoin and crypto is a big uncertainty that's just like keeping us like in this phase. That's just my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's totally what's suppressing the price right now, and it's pretty obvious too. So, I mean, yeah, again, huge buying opportunity. I'm buying, every day, and I have been since, Bitcoin went below 62,000.
So that's a good take. That's the biggest catalyst for the price suppression. I didn't really. I mean, I thought that Bitcoin's going to operate independently, no matter who's in office, Democratic or Republican.
Long
And
term, yeah.
Isn't Kamala a little bit more like acceptant of AI and like in the blockchain? I just saw a video.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. What I will say really quick, because we can talk about this too, because was it 2 nights ago? I don't know if you guys watched it. The vice president debate happened. And I walked away after that debate wishing that was the presidential debate, honestly, because the amount of like mutual respect in just being human beings and being cordial, they obviously think differently in regards to policies, and they checked each other when they felt that way. But the human aspect of like, okay, I don't agree with you at all, and I think your policies suck, but you're a human being, and we're going to treat each other like decent human beings. I thought that was like that played out very well in spades. And although I don't really like Waltz much at all as policies are concerned, I actually found myself not really hating him in regards to being a human being. I think he came off very human. And I think he just came off as somebody that has policies I don't agree with, but I would probably sit down and have a beer with him. He seemed like all right. And I feel like Vance and him probably felt the same way about each other, honestly.
Yeah,
and I thought that was awesome for all of us, regardless of where you sit on the political spectrum, regardless of Republican, Democrat, hardcore left, hardcore right, to see two guys that definitely ideologically are so far apart, kind of like have a mutual respect for each other, was something we definitely needed. And I don't think we've had that in any debate for a while. And I thought that was a big positive, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys did. You guys watch it or no?
I watched it. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was nice. Like they weren't like coming at each other. They were respectful. Vance is a great speaker. Obviously, he did amazing.
Great debater.
I thought he crushed.
Great debater. Yeah, great debader.
Great debater. I mean, he's a good speaker. Like you said, he's a polished speaker.
Sure.
He's smart. And I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it more than the other debate with Kamala.
And Waltz is on record as saying that he's not a good debater and he like worries about debating. So I don't know if that played into my view a little bit too, but I thought for a guy that you could tell he was nervous and he's even said he's not good at it. I don't think he blew. I don't think he sucked. I don't think he did terrible.
No,
I think he held his own in regards to like a stage presence. I mean, his policies when he speaks, I don't agree with the things he was saying on the most part, but I think he definitely. I will say one thing, and it elicited the tweet that I made about abortion that got a whole bunch of engagement. I think Vance's stance and what he said about abortion was like, I texted you, I think as soon as he did it, I said, finally, we have a Republican say what needs to be said in regards to this issue. Finally, I think what he said was 10 out of 10 in regards to how we handle abortion from the Republican side.
No, I agree.
Which I think even logical Democrats would be like, that's not a bad way to look at it. And we need that issue, I think, as a country to just be like, we need to have a common ground on that. It can't be all or nothing, in my opinion. It just can't. It's too hot a topic. You're going to alienate too many people by just saying it's got to be this or it's got to be that. It can be a little of both, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's going to be big for, the future of the country as well as, being able to compromise in different ways. It doesn't have to be so, politically polarized. And, that's a way that the globalists are going to try and divide us all too. So, I mean, people got to watch out for that and, be really thinking who's in charge, who's feeding us the news, where's the news coming from, and what is the purpose and why are they doing this?
Yeah, it's a deep rabbit hole.
It's and I can wear the hat, and people can disagree, and it's fine. You can wear a Kamala hat, and no one's, and we can still sit here, and everyone can come together and talk about crypto in general and whatever. We can all be friends. I mean, both my parents are Democrats, and I can wear the hat and I can talk to them, and it doesn't have to be this hostile thing. But
at the end of the day, we're all Americans. So it's like you can be Republican, you can be Democrat, but we all share being Americans. So how we get to the end goal might be viewed differently, but winning should be the ultimate goal. So no matter who's in power, I want them to succeed. And we should all want them to succeed, because if they succeed, the country succeeds, we all succeed. This dividing ideology of, well, that's not my president, or that's not, it's like, that's just, it's stupid. You can ideologically disagree, but like, I haven't really liked Biden, but I've been rooting for him to make good decisions and to win, especially when he's on the global stage. I don't want to see this dude fall over and throw up on himself. Like, that makes us all look bad. So I'm rooting for him to be good. I'll criticize when he's not, but if he is, I'll also give him props because he's representing all of us and I want him to succeed. I'm not looking for him to fail. I'm looking for him to succeed, but calling out when he doesn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I want to pivot a little bit here to Bitcoin Magazine. Just in, this was released this morning. 1.6 trillion Franklin Templeton files for Bitcoin and ETH index ETF at the SEC. They have $1.6 trillion AUM. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's bullish.
Yeah, they're big.
This is. We also came across another article that came out and said I don't know if this is true or not, and I want you to fact check this, by Crypto T. McDonald's accepts Bitcoin. Soon they will turn this on in every country to avoid 2.5% credit card transaction fees in inflation. And then there's just a little video here. We can pull this up for the playback. People actually paying with their McDonald's on the Lightning Network, dude. That's massive. That's huge. Sooner or later, everyone will accept Bitcoin. I think this is awesome for our industry. I don't know which country this is. I'm looking in the comments now.
Yeah, so am I. From the look of the video, it looks like it's probably somewhere in Asia, which wouldn't really surprise me. One of the comments, which I think is a fair comment. I just had it and now I lost it. It was a little critical, and I think it's good. Bitcoin, it's by Caspa King, ironically enough. Bitcoin can't scale to handle that many transactions. If it's used, it won't be as designed. People might not care there is a third party involved in the transaction if it's cheaper than a credit card. Fair. I mean, it's fair. On a scale of short time preference, Bitcoin can't handle as many transactions as, let's say, MasterCard or Visa. But I've seen statistics that the total Bitcoin transactions, dollar-wise, is outpacing MasterCard and Visa on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
So more people are engaging in, and again, some of that are probably, a lot of it is trading. It's not necessarily they're buying shit, but the transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain are outpacing the transactions on MasterCard and Visa. So the volume is there, just not on a short time preference where you're trying to get, hundreds of transactions a second, whereas Bitcoin can really only handle about 7 transactions a second in its current form. And again, I don't really. What's that, Matt?
I was just gonna talk about, this could be a good opportunity for businesses to avoid, processing fees that, credit cards like Visa and MasterCard have. I'm reading here 1.3 to 3.5%. I know for my business, it's 2.5%, or it's 2% on every transaction. That I'm paying that processing.
If I'm being totally honest to our listeners, I don't really give a shit, and I don't think, honestly, it's in the best interest of a business to accept Bitcoin. Well, no, let me back the truck up on that. They can accept it if they want to, but I wouldn't accept it as a means of trying to replace other means of acceptance when it comes to the business. It wouldn't be something I'd be trying to get as one of my top things to be like replacing a debit card or replacing a credit card. You can make it an option, but I would much rather a stable coin. Honestly, I would rather take a stable coin, right? For many different reasons than taking Bitcoin as payment, as a business that needs cash flow. Because I mean, look at if you would have taken a payment on Monday and then today that payment's worth 8% less than when you took it, and your profit margin line is 5%. could really hurt your business. On the flip side, if it goes up 10%, obviously we know all that. And this, but there's just too much risk when you're running a business to worry about short-term volatility, because you're transacting day to day, and the short-term volatility of Bitcoin could really affect your business. I don't really see why you would want that to be something you took in volume, because it could affect your business negatively, in my opinion. And I'm a Bitcoin maxi saying that. But I'm also a store of value Bitcoin maxi. I don't think I want it to be where every single person in the world is just accepting it for payments and everybody like holds hands and sings Kumbaya.
I personally think it's a pain in the ass to send Bitcoin as a payment. However, I mean, my business definitely does offer it. Probably one out of 100 transactions is in Bitcoin. So, I mean,
and I would do that. I would do that if I had a philosophy or ideology that I held Bitcoin on my balance sheet. If I did that and that was part of my business thesis, I would accept Bitcoin, and every Bitcoin transaction I took would go right to that, to the reserves. I wouldn't take it where I have to spend for cash flow purposes of buying new supplies. Like, that's what I'm saying. If you're a business that has a Bitcoin treasury, hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, pay me in Bitcoin and I can just put it in my treasury, and it saves me from taking cash and buying Bitcoin on an exchange and then it saves me steps. You just send it to me, and that makes it easy. So in that instance, I would definitely want to take Bitcoin, but I wouldn't want it to be a large portion of the amount of volume that I'm doing, because I think it would be problematic, in my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm reading something here from Chris Tipper on Twitter. Liquidity has surged to 176 trillion, continuing its upward trend on the back of fresh injections from China and generally improving liquidity conditions around the world.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm looking at a line that's
What's the displacement? Doesn't it take a while for it to flow into crypto, though?
Yeah, over 5 weeks for sure.
Because it's displaced.
So we're not even really seeing that price.
Yeah.
5 to 10. 5 to 10 weeks, or even a little bit longer. And then you have news coming into play that's going to drop price like it just did. So you might not totally see the effects of the liquidity. You want to talk about some liquidations, Troy?
Yeah,
liquidation points.
Yeah, we could talk about some liquidations for you degen liquidators out there. I mean, yeah, we can. I already know there's major levels at, under 2,200 ETH.
What about for Bitcoin?
I mean, I can just imagine under 60,000, but we could get the data, pull it up.
59, I think.
59?
I think I saw earlier 59, and then
where do you
57.9, I think is the number.
If we hit 59, we're going right to 29, guys. Where do you see the market, Dom?
What do you mean?
You see us hitting in the 40s? Possibility?
I don't. No. But what I think or feel doesn't really matter, and even if it did, it doesn't change anything for me. I know it changes it for a lot of other people, but I mean, I'm not a trader. I'm just a holder. If you're asking me my opinion, I don't think we'll see 40 because of the ETFs. I think the ETFs are really holding us in this range, the 50 to 60 range, because of that volume. I think if we see the 40s, it's because something really, really major happened, and we get that initial dip because of that. Like, if, let's say, Israel or Iran sent a missile and it killed a lot of civilians, and it like really escalated things, and it really brought the threat level up to where we're like, wow, is somebody going to use a nuke? I think that would be a catalyst. And I think if Kamala Harris wins the election, that could be, and let's say she wins, and then at the same time the war is escalating as well, that could be a catalyst. Like, there's a lot of things that could potentially be a catalyst to bring us down much lower. But everything, I mean, and it's like being in a pool with like a beach ball, and you're trying to push the beach ball underwater. Like, the harder you push the beach ball down, and as soon as you let go, it blasts up. So I mean, it's all short term. It's all short term noise.
These markets pivot quickly. I mean, we did have a few red days in a row, but they turn around quick. The sentiment turns around quick. So
Let me pivot real quick to a tweet because I think this is a good time to talk about it, because this will answer what you just asked me probably better than the way I may even answered it 2 seconds ago. This is a tweet by BitPain. In about 528 days, on March 15th, 2026, the 20 millionth Bitcoin will be mined. At that point, there will be 1 million more BTC, that's 4.8% of the total supply, left to be mined. So let's stop for a second, call a timeout, and conceptualize that. March 15th, 2026 will be 114 years before the last Bitcoin will be mined. So in 114 years, 4.8% of the entire supply, which represents 1 million Bitcoin, will still have to be mined, which is not a lot. So as we have each 4 years for 114 years, Bitcoin will get scarcer and scarcer and scarcer. At some point in the future, 50, 60, 70 years, blocks will be like 0.1 or 0.2 Bitcoin per block, right? Something like 90% less than where we're at now, fuzzy math. Yeah. So at that point in the future, this is why when Michael Saylor says this, this is what it means. Okay. I'm going to say it really quick so we can all be on the same page. Bitcoin either goes to $0 or it's nothing less than 1 million. There's nothing in between, because it either fails and goes to 0 or it doesn't fail. And if it doesn't fail, then that means at some point in the future, it's going to be so incredibly rare and so incredibly scarce that the price is going to be so high, it's just going to price out normal people from being able to hold it, the same way that Berkshire Hathaway A stock prices people out from just saying, hey, I want to own some Berk A stock. I want to own a whole share. You can't. It's 600,000. Good luck. So the way that Bitcoin is set up, like we're and it's ironic because this space is full of degenerates that have such low time preference. They're worried about these like 5-minute candles and 1-hour candles and the daily and all that bullshit that is just ridiculous when you're fucking up the easiest trade of your entire life by just holding this shit and helping your family out. Every time you trade and lose, you're screwing your future family. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion as a Bitcoin maxi. So every time that happens and you lose Bitcoin, you're cheating. Let me give you a real quick story. I want to give you a really, really quick story. I thought of this because I saw something earlier. In 2014, I was on a gambling website. Bitcoin was $220 a coin. And I had some Bitcoin at the time. And I put 0.1 Bitcoin on the site. And I played some stupid slot games or whatever. And the 0.1 Bitcoin, it was $20, $22. And I lost whatever the $22 was that I put on that site. Okay. What's 0.1 Bitcoin today? 6,000. So I was fucking around with $20 10 years ago. That's 6,000 today. So when you're leverage trading your Bitcoin now, your 0.1 Bitcoin at 6,000 and you lose that, you might be losing 600,000 or 6 million for 50 to 60 or 70 years of your family lineage in the future. That's the way you got to look at it.
I completely, yeah.
We're so low like this because we're lumped with crypto, because Bitcoin is lumped with crypto. We're so low time preference that people can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah. You have to think of the future value of that asset. I think about that all the time. Like if I lose on a leverage trade, let's say I lose like 0.5 Ethereum and Ethereum's at 2,000. So I lost $1,000, but the future value that's going to, in my view, will be, 5,000 or even more 20 years from now. So you have to be very careful with your leverage trading. I don't recommend leverage trading for everyone. It is, people get addicted to that shit, man. And you have to be careful with that because you could lose years of wealth. People build portfolios for 5 years, lose it in a few days. So be careful on what you're doing.
The problem with trading,
have a strategy and use efficient leverage. There's no reason to be going on and doing a 10x leverage.
What?
There's absolutely no reason because you can't outtrade a trending market. You can't predict what's going to happen in the short term. Look at all the events that just happened. The macroeconomic data is not going to tell you anything about that. How in the world are you going to predict it? You're gambling at that And when you lose, I mean, don't be surprised. So, I mean, if you're going to take leverage, have a system, have rules written down either on your computer or a piece of paper, and know what you're going to do and have a game plan going into it. You can't just go into it blindly. Just, how do you know when to pull out? How do you know when to DCA out?
Yeah.
How do you know
Troy,
when to stay in?
Troy, let me ask you a question.
You know,
You don't have a kid, but if you did, you could think about if you had a kid, or just think about the person that you care about the most in this world. Whoever that person is. Think about the person you care about the most in this world. If I were to give you a gun, okay, and let's pretend this gun has 100 chambers in the gun. 100 chambers. Okay, it's not a 6-chamber, 100 chambers. I give you one bullet and put it inside one of the chambers and spin it. And I tell you, put the gun to whoever it is that you love more than anything in this world's head and pull the trigger one time. How would you feel if I gave you that proposition?
1 in 100 chance? Why would I do that?
1 in 100 chance that you're going to blow the brains out of the person you care about more than anything in this entire world. Would you want to take that proposition? Or would you give me the gun back and say, I don't want to do it?
Do it to someone. I would do it to my own brain if there was, $100 million on the line, and that was a 1 in 100 chance.
No, there's no money. It's not money. No, it's not money. It's not money. There's no gain. There's no short-term, long-term. The only thing is I'm giving you a bullet, putting it in the chamber, and you're putting it to their head, and you're risking a 99% chance that it doesn't go off, but the 1% chance that it does. Would you do it?
Of course not.
The answer is probably no, right? I would never do that to my son or my daughter. I don't give a shit. You could do the same thing with 1,000, 1 in 1,000, and I'm not pulling the trigger, right? Every time you leverage trade Bitcoin, that's what you're doing. The greatest asset in this world, you're spinning the chamber and playing roulette. And you might get it. You might get it 99 times out of 100. You might get it 999 times out of 1,000, but you're risking the greatest asset that probably 50 or 60 years, most of the population will finally understand. And that's what you're doing every time you leverage trade Bitcoin specifically. Not talking about all the shit coins. That's a different conversation. But when you're leverage trading Bitcoin specifically, you're taking what we all recognize to be the greatest asset ever created, and you're playing Russian roulette with that asset.
Oh, I would do it.
Every time somebody leverage trades Bitcoin, they do it. Because it's easy to leverage trade in a bull market. When the price is going parabolic, everybody feels like a genius. You see the screenshots. I made 10,000. I made 20. Oh, you're a genius, right? We don't get those moments multiple times, like many, many times over the 4-year cycle. Like there's a certain time period where you can basically print money. You can probably try to wait for that and do it. And I'm not even saying to do that, but I'm saying like people are leverage trading all 4 years of cycles. And it's like playing Russian roulette with Bitcoin. In my opinion.
I would argue that there is a percentage of people out there that when running systems, which most people don't,
trend modeling,
which most people don't,
risk management,
which most people don't, doing all the things that most people don't do, I would argue that taking efficient leverage is going to maximize, gains.
But you're not trading that leverage.
You're not trading it.
You're 100% correct in everything you said, except for one very important detail that you left out. You can do all things perfect. You can follow all the models. Everything can be absolutely brilliant. And one macro event can fuck up your whole strategy that you didn't see coming, that nobody saw coming. And you could get it right 99% of the time. But there's always that 1% that you're going to lose. Nobody's 100%. Nobody wins 100% of the time. The best traders still lose. They're profiting, but you're still
100%.
losing. And the people that are that dedicated and that good at trading are like so few. And it's so hard to stay disciplined and stay focused and not veer off from time to time, because we're all humans. We all have emotions, and our emotions most likely will win out over logic, unfortunately, more times than we want to admit. Which is why I've made the decision that trading is just not something I'm willing to do, because I know how emotional of a person I am, and I couldn't be successful no matter how dedicated I made myself. I would eventually not succeed.
To a not a simple system, but when you break it down and you understand it would be a simple system to the creator or yourself. I mean, 3x leverage on Toros where you can't get liquidated.
No confidential sites.
I mean, I really do argue that, seeing thousands of % gains. I mean, yeah, when you're trading on the lever, I mean, what did Tyler tell us? You're gonna have losses. You're gonna have massive gains.
You're gonna have
capture a trend.
If you're running the right systems, you're gonna have multiple small losses, but when you capture that one big trending move, that will make up for all your losses plus. But again, it all comes down to risk and.
Yeah, but then once you capture that win, here's the thing: once you capture that win, now the hard part starts. Now you got to protect and preserve that wealth that you built, which we've seen cycle after cycle.
Dude,
not always even through the markets, not always even through the markets, but that wealth gets lost in many other ways.
Yeah. Keeping money is a whole different skill set. Like making money is, you can get lucky.
Not everybody's meant to be rich overnight. We see it all the time. Not everybody's meant to be rich overnight.
You can't take the same amount of risk you did getting that $100K or $1 million.
No,
you have to be more conservative, and people don't understand that. So
defense is 50% of the game.
Yeah, and I would argue it's even more. You have to have risk management, or you're going to be annihilated.
And there's going to be times where you enter into cash and you hold cash because that's the optimal move on the chessboard.
Traditional finance is selling you the idea that you put your money away into the markets in 401ks, IRAs, all these investment vehicles for 30 or 40 years, get 7%, and then draw from that money at some time in your 60s or 70s, right? Bitcoin is giving you the 4-year cycles, compounding at 40%, which is about almost 6 times what the traditional markets are giving you, and compounding faster than the 30-year to 40-year model of TradFi. And all you have to do is buy DCA and hold over 4-year cycles. And people are just refusing to take the long-term time preference model of I'm just going to buy and hold, and I can't mess that up because Bitcoin's giving me completely outsized gains just by doing nothing but holding. And people instead choose the faster route of trying to trade. And again, I know you guys are using models. I know you guys are speaking from a different place than 99.9% of the people I'm talking to. But the problem is the 99.9% of the people that I am talking to affect you guys as well, because they're moving these markets in ways that they don't need to be moved if people just stop being goddamn degenerates, in my opinion.
What's wrong with you, Jones?
You guys are speechless. I didn't want you to be speechless.
We're degens, dude. But we've identified ourselves as degens.
I'll tell you. All right. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. Stay away from the platform called MEXC. Don't look into it. Don't go on it.
Don't use MEXC.
And if you do, only go in with.
So real quickly, my preference of leverage is like tokens or like coins that are 3x like leverage tokens, or not like perps, not these websites where you could 100, 200x Pepe, like websites like that. Like it's so dangerous, dude. Like, but yeah, moving on. Bitcoin is sitting at 60,600.
Oh, we're up a little bit. Yeah, we're up a little bit. Another Bitcoin Magazine tweet. Elon Musk says America is headed for bankruptcy after the Fed debt jumped $200 billion in one day to record highs. That's a lot of. I have to fact check that. That seems insane, because that would basically say that every 5 days we're adding $1 trillion to the debt. That's insane. I don't know how. I don't know how that could be possible. That's insanity, right? Like the math ain't mathing on that, right? I mean, 204 billion in a day. Like that's, I don't know if Elon Musk, side note on Elon Musk real quick. I need to talk about this. I'm not a fan. And again, I've had a love-hate relationship with Elon Musk for like 4 years. I actually used to have Elon Musk as my profile on X until he bought it. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't have that there since he owns the damn thing. But I've liked Elon Musk and I've hated Elon Musk and I've liked Elon Musk and I've hated Elon Musk. I'm not a fan, honestly, of Elon Musk being as politically active as he is, owning the biggest news platform that we have. I'm not a fan of that. Even if I ideologically agree with a lot of the side that he's supporting, I don't like the fact that he's ingrained in the right now, and all he does is tweet and retweet and support all the right shit now. So I feel like my news feed is indoctrinated with all the shit on the right. I don't see really much what's going on the left unless I looked for it. So I feel like now we're in this Twitter where it was obviously super liberal 4 years ago, and now it's like super conservative. And I don't think it should be super anything. It should be a good place to go where you can see everything and then choose for yourself. And the fact that the guy that owns it is tweeting so hardcore right, it's shifting the algorithm now hardcore right, which I don't think is good either, in my opinion. What do you guys
think? Don't you think it's about time we got a platform that was built for the right to where we're not censored like on Instagram and Facebook and all the other platforms?
No, I don't, because I don't agree with censoring the left, because it's the same problem we had censoring the right. Because I feel like now that's what's happening. They're censoring the left. Regardless of the fact that a lot of things the left say I don't agree with and I think are shit, it's irrelevant to the conversation of free speech. I think it's being hypocritical.
In a comment on Twitter, it will like get flagged and like hidden from everyone. If you just say the word transgender. If you say the word transgender, if you say the word transgender and you type it in like a reply or whatever to someone's tweet, it'll get like flagged as violating community guidelines.
That's a problem. That's a problem. And I will tell you that I do not support the platform of where that sector is trending towards, but they have a right to voice their opinions about that because they're Americans and they're protected by the First Amendment. I do not agree with that. That's the problem.
So now
that's the problem.
Different social media platforms picking sides and censoring information from the other side, essentially one way or another. Or
is it too dark to see?
Or putting the algorithm to favor one side over the other, depending on what platform you're using. So I mean, like Zuckerberg already admitted with Facebook to censoring vaccine information.
Yeah.
Like we heard that. So I mean, like we're now seeing it from both sides, and it's like pick your platform. But is there really anything that allows both sides to speak freely? I don't think so. There's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I would say, like, do you even really get news from Instagram?
No.
It's
like if I do get news from Instagram, it's like 3 days too late.
I think most people get their news from I know I get most of my news from X. I mean, I set this podcast up with ideas from X. So I want X to be a place that I can get all sections of thought and ideas. I hated the fact that it was a left echo chamber for so long. I have an old, I'm saying this as somebody that was banned on X in 2019 because I was tweeting conservative things, and I had to make a new account because I wasn't tweeting like issues. I was tweeting fiscally conservative things in regards to finance, and I got my account suspended. So I had to create a new account in 2019 and rear back a little bit. So I mean, I was obviously the left side of things were affecting me. So you would think that because I'm more right leaning that I'd be like, yes, this is great, everything right. But no, I'm an American and I want ideas from all sides. I want to see everything. I don't want you to be, I want to be able to say that's a shitty take. with my logical brain, look at a tweet and say, that's trash. Retweet it and say, this is trash. Instead of never seeing it and getting stuck in an echo chamber where we all think we're correct and we're all like singing Kumbaya and holding hands and rainbows are going over our heads because we think that we're all right. And that's not good. It's not good. I don't like it. I don't like the direction that Twitter's going. And I love Twitter. It's my favorite platform. I say that as somebody that chooses Twitter over everything. But I do not like the direction that Elon Musk is going. I almost want to even say I don't like the support that he made for Trump because of the fact that he's such an important figure in media, whether he wants to admit it or not. The fact that he's picking a side makes his media platform murky. Right? You got to think of it like, I don't know, you guys are too young. You wouldn't even realize this, but like Michael Jordan back in the day when he was playing basketball, he always got asked political questions and never answered them. And finally said, because things were always leaning left back in the day, just like they do now, why don't you ever answer any questions in regards to like your political ideologies? You know what his answer was? Republicans buy sneakers too. No, Republicans buy sneakers too. Because Air Jordan is a multi-billion-dollar brand. It wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar brand if he was a hardcore leftist. He stayed neutral in the middle because his business was selling sneakers. And that's so much far down the food chain than Elon Musk, who, I mean, he's got multiple businesses, but he's the owner of the largest media source, I would argue, in the country right now. And so the fact that we know his political leanings and the fact that his platform is leaning in that direction, I think is problematic. And it's kind of like contradictory to his whole free speech thing. In my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. You guys are younger. You guys are more social media mavericks than I would be, but that's how I see it.
I mean, obviously, he does not give a shit about money. Like, we clearly understand that. So he's not. He doesn't care if he loses, customers buying Tesla. Like, he doesn't care if Troy can't sell his Tesla to a liberal now. He doesn't care about any of that. The owner of the platform choosing one side. I mean, yeah. I mean, I could see. Like, I see your point of view. However, I maybe I am biased. I'm wearing a freaking Trump hat, but I do think it was time to where a right-leaning person controlled a media outlet and made it public that they do and structured it in that way. I think it's almost leveling the playing field for what I feel like is a world that leans so far left in universities, in media, in, political correctness and the way that, we're supposed to talk nowadays. I think it's almost leveled the playing field a little bit. But, to argue to your point, I do agree that, now it's not really a space where both sides, coincide. But it wasn't like that before.
You know what Trump's money? No pun intended. You know what Trump's money? Integrity.
Trump's money?
Integrity.
No.
Integrity trumps money. Your reputation, your word, your integrity will always be more important than money. Money comes and goes. Once you lose your integrity, once your word is no good, you can never get that back. He bought the platform because he wanted to restore free speech. That's the reason why he said he bought the platform. He wanted to be a fair place for everybody to come and play. He's on record saying that. I'm not putting words in his mouth. That's the reason he told us he purchased Twitter. So you say that and you do something completely different now where you're actually not necessarily pro free speech and you're censoring things you don't like. That defeats the entire purpose of what you said you were going to do, and it makes me question your integrity. So you can be the richest guy in the world, which is great, but your word ain't shit, and your integrity ain't shit, so you ain't shit in my eyes. Money doesn't impress me. I'm 46 years old. I've seen it. I've had it. I've lost it. It comes, it goes. Integrity is a different thing. I'll respect you more if you're a decent human being than if you got hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars. So in my opinion, I've gone vacillating back and forth with Elon Musk, and I've had this love-hate relationship, but I think he's really shown us who he is at this point. And I think his word is trash, in my opinion. Unfortunately, because I really had higher hopes for his delving into the social media platform.
So what's next? Is there a place where there is utter, true freedom of speech?
Isn't there a Twitter on the blockchain?
That's what we were talking about the other day. I was asking, is there a place where you could
Noster is
Maybe
trying to be that.
Farcaster.
Noster is trying to be the place where you can go that truly does not censor ideas, but it's clunky. It's not user friendly. I've tried to get on it. It's definitely not user friendly. I've signed up for it. It's just not. There's not enough users on it yet. It's clunky. It's not user friendly. But the technology shift is being attempted. People are trying to figure out ways to. The thing is, to be totally fair, there's always the risk. You don't want there to be a place where people can just like completely hate and put vile shit. You know, you don't want that. You don't want swastikas and children being raped. Like, I don't want that shit on my newsfeed. Like, nobody wants that shit on the newsfeed unless you're a sick individual. So there is a semblance of censoring that needs to occur on things that are just vile. But like everything else, like if somebody's got a really wild take on an idea or ideology, like we should be able to bash it. I should be able to see it and tell you that it's trash. And you should be able to defend it and tell me why you think the way that you think. And we should all be able to just walk away and agree to disagree.
Yeah, like you can't have a terrorist organization forming a community on a platform.
Of course.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's going to be some level of censorship.
There's even the First Amendment. Even the First Amendment doesn't protect you walking into a movie theater and yelling fire, or walking into a movie theater and saying something that is dangerous to the masses. You can't do that. It's not protected. So in our social media spaces, it should be treated the same. But if I walk into a movie theater and I say, Kamala Harris is the best person that ever, vote Kamala, like people can boo me and tell me to get the hell out of the movie theater, but I shouldn't be arrested for that. I shouldn't be, publicly shamed for that per se, or censored from that, or not allowed back in the building because I did that.
Yeah.
That's protected under the First Amendment. Your shitty takes are protected under the First Amendment.
No, I completely agree.
Well, maybe blockchain technology can give us, a new platform.
Yeah, there's Farcaster. I don't know how many users are on it, but yeah, I'll show you guys real quick. It's a decentralized social network. Farcaster.
It's called what? Forecast? Okay.
Farcaster, yeah. A decentralized social network. Twitter, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see. You could even have like stories on top. It's kind of cool. It's like kind of reminds you of like Snapchat and Twitter.
Yeah, I think there'll be some future where we have a social media platform that's tied to the blockchain, where you are free to stay and do whatever it is that you want. But I think there's always that risk of seeing things that nobody should see and hearing things that nobody should hear, because you want there to be an open platform, but there's risk when it's totally open. So there's some world where you want it to be like 98% open, and you want to block out that 2% that nobody wants to see or hear. But how do you do that? And how do you do that where it doesn't become subjective and bleed into things that should be seen, but you just think they shouldn't be seen? So what's the line? That's the difficult part of figuring out what do we allow and what do we don't allow, and who's to decide and be subjective on what those things are. There's certain things we can all agree on, like, I don't want to see kids being beheaded, and I don't want to see swastikas and racist shit. Like, we can all agree on that. But like, where's the line at, and where's the good and where's the bad, and what does that look like? I think that's a little bit more difficult than maybe we're giving it credit for. But that's not where Elon Musk is right now. in my opinion. He's not toting that line. He's way off the reservation with that, in my opinion.
Well, we got a minute left here, so we're going to be wrapping this up soon. I do want to show I don't know how many viewers we have today, but Matt and I are in an undisclosed location, and we keep saying that in the beginning of the podcast, but we never really like showed like kind of like what it's about. But if you can kind of see,
yeah,
if you can guess where we are,
Troy will send you.
I'll send you some leveraged tokens. Beautiful.
Yeah.
We're in
Hopefully it's not Israel or Lebanon.
We're in South America right now. If you can guess where we are, though, that's you're geographically intelligent, because it's not that hard. We're not in somewhere
Comment down below where you think we are.
Yeah,
and there will be some sort of reward in crypto sent over. So yeah, put that in the comments and see if you can guess where we are. They get a good view or no?
Yeah. Don't drop that.
If you know your geography, you'll know what this valley is and where we are.
But yeah. Any last minute thoughts here, Don, before you wrap it up, or just end
No,
as
man.
usual? Is
The only thing that we can say, and the only adage that we can live by in society: don't trust, verify.
don't. See you next week,
Peace.
guys.
See you next week.